It's the favorite scale of every guitar player that wears a ruffly shirt and leather pants. But what is the Phrygian Dominant scale, and what can you do with it? Well, for starters, this. Well, hey there kids, it's your good buddy, Uncle Ben, and I am presently watching The Lord of the Rings on mute in the background. So if I seem distracted during this video, it's because I'm watching those hobbits get up to some awesome shit. I'm pretty sure Sauron would use Phrygian Dominant. He seems metal as fuck. And I also like to use that scale all the time in a variety of different genres of music. Everything from extreme metal shredding, like what you heard at the first of this video, into like gypsy jazz and stuff like that. It's a really versatile scale if you know how to use it. On today's video, you guys are going to get a crash course on what makes this scale so cool, how and when to use it, what kind of chords you can make out of it, and also how to play that super sick lick that you heard at the start. As always, downloadable tabs, backing tracks, bonus lessons, and so much more are available to everybody who supports my channel over on my Patreon page at patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. Even for just $1 a month, you get all kinds of goodies, so be sure to click that link in the video description and sign up today. Gear-wise today, I'm using my lovely Suhr modern Satin and Fractal Audio Axe Effects 3, but I'm getting my dirt from this super attractive eye-searing box of rock from REVV Amplification. This is their G3 pedal in a limited edition shocking red finish. I'm gonna tell you guys what, I love this pedal so much, I'm gonna give you one. It is once again the time of Happy Wanksgiving, the anniversary date here of Weekend Wankshop, and this year the fine folks at REVV are helping me celebrate by giving you guys something very super nice. For more details on this, be sure to check out my Instagram page this week over at Ben Eller Guitars, as well as the REVV Amplification Instagram page. I'll put both of our handles down here on the screen right now. Find us, follow us, and get details on how you can get yourself one of these bad boys. And speaking of the holidays, I think it's about time that you treated yourself to something real nice, whether that be a pedal or amp from REVV, or any of my other favorite pieces of gear that are full on display on my Sweetwater affiliate link page. So be sure to click the Sweetwater link in the video description, head over to my page, and get yourself something real nice. I like things that are nice. Gandalf, you too stoned to play with those fireworks. Okay, so first things first, we're gonna talk some of the theory about this scale and how to use it and stuff like that, but if you just came here to learn how to play that ferocious shredding lick, there's a timestamp just for you on screen right now. You can go there and get straight onto the wailing. So first things first, what is Phrygian Dominant? Where it come from? Who your name is? Who you came with? Let's peel back a layer by first talking about what the regular old Phrygian scale is. Now, all the examples in today's video are going to be based around E Phrygian Dominant, so let's take a look at an E Phrygian scale. Now there's many different ways that you can approach this. I think probably the most simple way to look at it is to take a look at the C major scale first, okay? That's the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now if I take that collection of notes right there and I just start on the E and continue on another octave, in other words, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. It's the exact same notes, I just moved the finish line, you know? A lot of times with the modes, I just think of it this way. If the major scale is like a racetrack, you just move the finish line to somewhere else. That's one way to understand it. That will give you an E Phrygian scale. Cool scale, it's got a nice sort of dark tonality to it. Another way you could look at it is to say it is its own unique scale that contains these intervals of root, flat second, flat third, fourth, fifth, flat sixth, flat seven, and root again. That's a more complicated way to look at it, but I do think it gives you a much more thorough understanding of what this scale is and the kind of chords and stuff we can make out of it. Has anybody else ever noticed that whenever Bilbo says it's my 111th birthday, he sounds like Ozzy Osbourne? It's my 111th birthday! Anyway, the real advantage of understanding that scale intervallically, like I just demonstrated there, is it also informs you about what kind of chords you can make out of that scale. The most primary being an E minor chord, because the Phrygian scale has a root E, minor third G, and fifth B, which is all the ingredients you need to make a minor chord. So with all that stuff in mind, it'll help you understand the Phrygian Dominant scale a little more better, because it's the exact same scale, only there's one little tweak made to it. instead of having that flat third interval, the G note, Phrygian Dominant exchanges that for a major third, or G sharp note. Otherwise, every note in the scale is exactly the same. Now, the inclusion of that major third also means that some cool stuff happens when we start making chords out of it. Because essentially, if you look at the E Phrygian Dominant scale as kind of a ingredient bank to make chords out of, you have root, flat second or flat ninth, third, fourth, fifth, flat sixth, flat seven, and root. And I can use any of those intervals to build chords out of it. Now, that means that right off the bat, instead of making an E minor chord, which would have the G note in it, I don't have that note anymore. I have G sharp. And if I build a chord out of root, third, and fifth of this scale, E, G sharp, B, that's just a regular E major chord. And this makes a really interesting, sinister sound because that scale generates a perfectly happy, normal sounding major chord, but it also has all those other really aggressive sounding intervals like that flat 9 and flat 6 in there. So that means that you can take any perfectly average sounding happy major chord and really crash the party on it by playing Phrygian Dominant, exotic evil pharaoh sounding stuff over it. It'll satisfy all the chord tones of the major chord you're playing over, as well as fill in the gaps with all kinds of interesting stuff. But as they say in the realm of infomercials, but wait, there's more, because there's other cool intervals inside of that scale that you can use to build chords out of. So we have root, we have third, we have fifth, and if we also include that flat 7 that's in the scale, the D note, that one, it means that we can take this major chord and turn it into a dominant chord. Those are those perfectly happy, funky, Beatles sounding chords used in blues music and stuff like that all the time. Anytime you have a dominant chord, you can play Phrygian Dominant over it, because again, it's got everything you need to make that chord. It's also got that flat 9 in there, right? E to F, a little flat ninth interval. And if you have your dominant chord that we had a second ago, and you also include that flat 9 in there, the F note, we get a dominant flat 9 sound. It sounds like this. It's a really unusual and very spicy chord quality that we hear in jazz, and especially like gypsy jazz and stuff like that. And the best place to get it is from that good old Phrygian Dominant scale. It's quite cool. The other really cool thing that happens whenever we're playing around with that Phrygian Dominant scale is we get all the necessary ingredients to make some big old menacing diminished 7 chords and arpeggios. So check this out. If you start off from the F note, the flat 9 of the scale, let's play that note, then the G sharp, the note, 1.5 away from it. Let's play the B note next. Again, that's the note 1.5 from the G sharp note right there. Then let's play the D note. In other words, the note 1.5 above the note you just played. You end up with something like this. F, G sharp, B, D, F. You'll notice that all of those notes were separated by 1.5 steps, or a minor third interval. Anytime you have a note and you just ascend in those minor thirds like that, you form what's called a diminished 7 chord, or demolished 7 chord, as some people say. And these chords sound super evil. This is the chord sound that you get whenever you see the villain with the dastardly mustache and monocle tying a woman to the train tracks and silent movies and stuff like that. That's the full diminished or diminished 7 sound, and it's waiting for you right there inside of that Phrygian Dominant. So the cool thing about this is that means that over this E or E7 or E7 flat 9 sound, you could also play diminished stuff all over that too. Let's demonstrate here. I need to summon up the ghost of Chopin. Chopin, if you're there, give me a E7 flat 9 chord. Beautiful, right on cue. Let's hear how these diminished triads sound over it. Diabolical. But because of the unusual construction of that scale, there's not really a lot of good shapes to use. A lot of them involve really funky stretches. Like some of the first ones that I learned were like these right here. Here's a kind of standard form one that my guitar teacher, Benjamin Franklin, showed me long ago. It's up here at the 12th position. Again, it sounds perfectly cool, but you can see right off the bat there you got some funky stretches there going between your second and fourth fingers. Odd note groupings, 3, 3, 3, 2, 3, 3. Means it's kind of awkward to pick through at high speeds and phrase with and stuff. And from there I also learned this 3-note per string form. Again, that solves the, irregular note grouping problem, but you still got the big weird stretches in there. So I ended up not using that one all too much. But what I did discover is that this one works really, really well with my 3+4 scale pattern arrangements that I like to do. I put out a video a couple months ago that's called, I think it's like my 3+4 scale secrets or something like that. I'll put a link to it in the video description. Be sure to check that out. But long story short, a lot of times I like to configure scales in a way that feature 3 notes on one string. I'll do a C scale right here, 1, 2, 3, and then I'll put 4 notes on the next string, F, G, A, B. Okay, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. That gives you 7 notes, right? Which means that you've played through the entire scale. Scale's just 7 notes. So then I'm ready to restart right here at this C note, and I can play that exact same shape on this pair of strings. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. What do you know? Another C note. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right next to another C note. This Phrygian Dominant scale works really well in this configuration, and I can avoid all the weird awkward stretches if I do it this way. Okay, we're using E Phrygian Dominant, right? So here's a root note E. We're going to play the note a whole step below it, D. So this is going to be us starting on the flat 7, which is totally okay. Kind of gives you that cool, stepping into the root sort of sound, which is cool. But check this out. If you will start off on that flat 7, again, there's the root, here's the flat 7. We're going to play this shape. You could also use these 3 fingers if you want to. I'm not going to call the pinky police on you. And then scope this out. The 4-note string is going to go like this. Step your first finger up a half step, and then you're going to play like this. Again, not too bad of a stretch right there. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. You could shift on your first if you want to, like that. Totally works. And again, that leads you through 7 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Which means that I'm ready to restart the entire concept from this D note, the octave of where we began, right? Play the exact same shape, just on this pair of strings. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the next D note, just restart from there. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it'd go like this. It's not too bad to play. It avoids all the weird finger stretches and also gives you some cool opportunities to do some phrasing and sequencing in it, which is exactly what I did in that intro shred fest. Let's hear that thing again at stepdad speed. I don't know about you guys, but I would absolutely hang out with those hobbits at the Prancing Pony and smash like a dozen pints of ale. I think it sounds like a pretty good time. So this is a really great lick to work on your phrasing and alternate picking while traveling through the strings and up the neck. And then the diminished parts at the end of it have some great stuff to work on your, sweep picking or economy picking kind of stuff. Let's dig right in. Okay, so I showed you guys a second ago that 3+4 scale pattern that started off down here on the low E. I didn't want to start down there because by the time I made it all the way up, it sounded too long and repetitive and predictable, So we're going to start this one off on that middle D. So we're going to be starting off here on the flat 7. Again, your root note's right there. We're starting off a whole step below that. Now, anytime I encounter 3 notes on a string, 1, 2, 3, as we're going to be starting off with right here, it is my habit to usually phrase that in some pattern of 6 or 4 or 8, just like a big even number, because whenever I play big even numbers, I'll start off on a downstroke, I'll end on an upstroke, which is advantageous for me as a picker. Here's 2 of the ways I like to do 6-note sequences, and we're going to use them both in this lick. Okay, check this out. If we have D, E, F, it's like a low note, a middle note, a high note. Let's turn that 3-note grouping into 6 notes by playing this. Low, high, and then we're gonna walk down, and then we're gonna walk up, okay? Low, high, walk, down, walk, up. One more time. Low, high, walk, down, walk, up. That's a 6-note grouping right there that's more interesting than just playing straight through the scale. Throughout this video, I'm going to call those alternate 6s or alt 6s. And that's how this lick starts off, is with the alt 6, starting off here on the D. Next, let's go up to the next group of 3 notes that we're going to have here on the G string. That's our G sharp, A, and B. Now, another way I like to play groups of 6s is just to play up the 3 notes 2 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you could look at that as being low, middle, high, low, middle, high. I call those straight 6s. So far we've had an alt 6 and a straight 6. Now what you're going to do is with your first finger, shift up to the next note in the scale, the A note right here in fret number 14. That leaves us with this 3-note grouping of A, B, C. Now with that grouping of notes, let's play another one of those alt 6s. So that's going to go low, high, walk, down, walk, up. Alt, straight, alt. Now we're going to go to this D note right here, and again this is the same configuration of notes as what we started with. So using this D, E, F, we're going to play straight 6s this time. I'm just flip-flopping between alt and straight the entire time. Alt, straight, alt, straight. That means whenever we go to this next grouping of notes here, G sharp, A, and B, it's going to be an alt 6. And then when you go up here to A, B, C, it's going to be a straight 6. So that's like this. And again, this is all alternate picked, starting with a downstroke. If starting on a down doesn't feel comfortable, try starting on an up. That means you'll end up leaving every string off of a downstroke. That might work better for you. For me, it's better to start with the down, leave on the ups. Now at that point, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to step up again in the scale pattern. I'm going to put my first finger here now on the B note, and we're going to play B, C, D as a straight 6. So on the high E, you're going to have this. Before we do the Dave Mustaine special, the 22nd fret high E string whole step bend. And then after that, we're going to start this diminished 7 arpeggio sequence that is this cool pattern I just kind of came up with by accident. Sort of Marty Friedman-ish in that it's like a sliding arpeggio thing that moves down the neck on 2 strings and involves some double down economy picking. Okay, check it out. Here's the shape that we're starting with, and it's important to get this down really well because this entire lick is just based on one shape, okay? Here's what I'm doing. I got my G sharp note, my special magical Phrygian Dominant note. Then I'm going to have my first finger down here on the B note on the high E, and then 3 frets above that, because remember, diminished chords are all about 3 fret intervals, minor thirds. I'm going to have my ring finger on that same string. So I have G sharp, B, D. Take a second there and get comfy with that. Okay, so this lick is based on one really simple principle. Because of the symmetrical nature of diminished 7 chords, where every note is 1.5 steps away from the previous note, that means any diminished lick that you learn can be moved down or up the board in 3 fret intervals. Move down 3, move down 3, and it all works. It's just kind of like inverting itself. You're never adding any new notes into it. It's still all F, G sharp, B, D. It's just kind of moving through those different positions. And again, we can keep the exact same shape and just keep moving down 3 fret intervals as far down or as far up as we can go. So the pattern that I made up here starts off by playing the note that's on the B string first. So in this case, it's going to be fret number 21, our G sharp note. Play that with the downstroke, then carry that downstroke through onto the next string, the note that your first finger is on, the B note, which is here on fret number 19. So you got down to down. After that, do a hammer on and pull off to the ring finger note in whatever position that you're in. Since we're starting up here, it's going to be fret number 22. So it's kind of like 21, 19, hammer on 22, pull back off to 21. Okay? Down, down, hammer, pull. After that, restart the sequence by playing that G sharp note again with a downstroke, the B note with a downstroke. But now this time, instead of doing the hammer on pull off, what you're going to do is to slide down 3 frets. So it's kind of like the first time you do hammer on pull off, the next time you do a slide. Now after you slide down, do your hammer on and pull off again. This time you're going to be hammering on the, what is that, 19 and pulling back off to 16. Down, down, hammer, pull, down, slide, hammer, pull. That right there is the entirety of the pattern. Practice that a few times here. Make it nice and slow and groovy. Now that you've got that down, what you're going to do is from that exact same position that you're in, just restart the idea. So we're going to pick the note that's on the B string, high E string first finger, hammer on pull off, back to the B, high E, slide. Now I'm down here at fret number 13. Restart the idea. Restart the idea again. And you're getting an idea of what to do here. Okay, so we started all the way up here. And then when you reach the B string on fret number 6, hit that and slide down to your E note just for some nice resolution. And then I cap it all off with just a big old juicy bend from D to E on the B string here, fret number 15. Whole step. So in its entirety, we're going to have alt 6s, straight, alt, straight, alt, straight, straight, Dave Mustaine, and then into the slidey bits. I think my favorite thing about that sliding arpeggio pattern is that it sounds way harder than it really is, because it sounds like so many notes are being played and everything, but if you really isolate just what the pick hand is doing, you'll notice it's not really all that much. Because if I'm going down, 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 even at high speeds, it just means my pick is doing this. Down, 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 down. Like, there's really not much to it. But it just sounds so badass. So, like I said, I just kind of stumbled into that one. I'm going to see what else I can do with it with some other arpeggio ideas. Probably end up coming up with something that sounds pretty wicked, and I know you can too. I think it's pretty f***ed up that like Gandalf and Saruman are like the most powerful wizards in all of Middle Earth, right? But when it comes time to duke it out, it turns into like a breakdance battle. I'm not really exactly sure what the deal with that is. And by the way, if you're also a fan of those wascally hobbits and want to hear myself and my good buddy Hollywood Steve Spratlin go on at length about our Middle Earth obsessions, be sure to check out episode 141 of our award-deserving podcast, Dead and Lovely, on Spotify or whatever podcast app that you use. We're usually a horror movie review podcast, but every year around the holidays, we like to do a wild card like we've done Die Hard and Home Alone and stuff like that. Last year we did The Fellowship of the Ring, and it was a blast. It is very not family friendly. It's quite bawdy, quite vulgar, so listeners beware, but it is a really good time. This year we're doing the Two Towers right around Christmas time too, so something to look forward to. So yeah, check out Dead and Lovely. Find us on Instagram right here. And speaking of Instagram, don't forget to go follow my page and the Rev Amplification page for notices on how you can win one of these delightful, shocking red G3 distortion pedals that you've been hearing this entire video. They're absolutely awesome. The people at Rev are great, so stay tuned for details about how you can get a piece of the action. Thank you guys, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for new content coming at you every single week. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications every time I upload a new slice of fried gold right here for you guys. If you like this video and want to get all the charts and tabs and stuff like that, support my channel over on my Patreon page at patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. Thanks again for watching. Now get away from the computer, go grab your guitar, and get to work. Let's click it. More picking. Buckleberry Fairy.